It took 3 years of catching the bus to work and at least 4 hours it took out of my day to realize that I can actually make some changes in my life. And this is how I done it.
If I could choose like 2 things that have really helped me along my journey, it'll definitely be listening to podcasts and reading books. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you guys a podcast that I've listened to or a book that I've read and do 3 things. I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to pull out a few paragraphs of what I've read or the podcasts that I've listened to that really sort of made me connect to. And what I'm going to do secondly is share my reflection on this point. And thirdly, ask you guys a question. So let's go. So the podcast is called Positive You. Well, that's the name of John Gordon's podcast, called Positive You by John Gordon. And he interviews a guy named Jesse Cole. And this podcast is titled How to Stand Out by Thinking Different. And here's a line that I really connected with. And to give you guys a bit of context, John asked Jesse a question, and I think it went something like, don't you ever get tired of wearing the same yellow suit all the time? And what's it like when people see you wearing this yellow suit? And Jesse's response was, look, it was very challenging at first, and it's just getting over that fear, because most people are so set on fitting in and scared to stand out. But when you do it, you get more joy. So here's my reflection, and this one was like one of the first podcasts that I listened to about 3 years ago. And I remember immediately after listening to this podcast, I sent an email to Jesse just thanking him for such an inspiration he's been for me in that moment, and also just asking for his advice on a few ideas that I had in mind, which at the time was opening up a youth center. The great thing about all of this, Jesse actually responded back to my email that I still have saved, which I'll love to share at some point. The problem I faced though was, although I had received a great email, it had given me so much inspiration to start taking steps towards these goals, there was doubt and fear of failure, because in my mind, when you choose to stand out, you will be criticized, you will be mocked, you will be laughed at, for the ideas that you have, because that's just the nature of humanity sometimes. And it'll be a lie if I said that these things don't bother me anymore, because it still does to some extent. I've just learned to manage my mindset more and just process in like my own mind what this means for me. Why is it why is this bothering me? What can I learn from this experience? And when I've done enough soul searching, it always seems to come back to what were my intentions of choosing to run a business, or what were my purposes of trying to make changes in my life. And I think if you ask yourself these questions in a deep and honest sort of a mindset, it reduces any doubt or fear in me, because in that moment your heart hurts knowing that you could be defeated by other people's opinions. But you know what? Let me tell you something. There's a great man who modeled for me how to handle these sorts of situations, because he knew his purpose and his mission. And guess what? He was severely mocked, made fun of, even killed, and yet he still saves. So my question would be for you, what's stopping you from standing out in the areas of your life? I love what I heard from the podcast the other morning, and if you let everyone shape your life, you will be misshaped for life. And as Jesse Cole writes in his book, let's stop standing still and let's stand out. Let's open them doors, eh?